All right, I just want to thank everyone for coming out today. I appreciate it. All right, so my global action plan is called Athletic Ambition. Now, you're probably all wondering kind of what the idea or the source behind what made me want to do this particular action plan. And it kind of started from who I am and what I love to do, and that is sports. I love playing sports. It's consumed at least 14 years of my life, from daily activities, going to practices, training. And from sports, it has helped shape me personally as a person. And I know that I've learned a bunch of skills that I can carry with me throughout for the next years as I move on in jobs and university and stuff. And so I've learned how to organize my time and how to kind of become a leader and just a person of character with regards to sportsmanship and all that. So, but me personally, it's not just what comes from playing the sports, it's what comes with being a part of a team. And for me, I've been captain of the sports teams throughout Appleby College, and it kind of, being a part of a team helps kind of make you, it kind of leads you into working with people that maybe you might necessarily not see eye to eye with, but you're able to help kind of come to a conclusion and to work past that. As well as it also, when you have teammates and stuff, it makes you work harder. It makes you want to keep being better, and it's kind of like constructive. You know, if you have a teammate who's better than you, you want to keep pursuing that and keep being a better player. So the whole idea behind this is that the thought for me to not be allowed to play sports in my lifetime would have definitely changed who I was, and I don't think I'd be the person I am today. So the idea started when I traveled to Morocco last March for my service trip. We originally, we were there and we helped renovate a school that carried from JK to grade 5. And during our breaks, we would go out and play with kids, just playing soccer. And to see the smile on their faces was probably the best thing in the world. But the problem is that with Morocco and with this rural area that we were going to, most of those families were putting all their money towards their child's education, where they weren't able to move forward and put any money into athletics or other co-curriculars that they could be participating in. So then in the second week when we were there, we went to a youth center where we then played basketball and soccer with the kids. And these kids were actually, some of them could not afford to go to school, and this was kind of just a center where they'd learn like the little things, the alphabet, all that small stuff, but it wasn't really an educational place for them. So seeing the impact and seeing the smiles on their faces also impacted me, and to see that every child or every adolescent out there should all be given the opportunity to participate in sport or something that they love to do, because what it overall brings to you are skills that can definitely lead to greater things in the near future. So when I was doing my background research, I read that there was 1/3 of children aged 3 to 17 do not participate in organized sports, largely due to cost. And like I was saying before, the idea that cost is the kind of the barrier for people not to be able to play sports shouldn't be the issue. Everyone should be allowed to do that. And then the other, not only is it just the overall enrollment fee, but it's the overall equipment cost. So you have the enrollment and then you have the equipment. And some people might be able to afford the enrollment, but not necessarily for the equipment. So that's your shin guards, your cleats, your basketball shoes, your practice basketball and whatnot. And then I also researched that hockey costs are as much as $2,000 per season, and if not more. And I do know that soccer and basketball prices are on the rise, but I also understand that because hockey's quite expensive, I wanted to focus more so on basketball and soccer, as they're kind of more generic and stuff. So my overall idea is to create an organization that will be able for people to continuously donate throughout. So with this, I want also to provide support and awareness through my social media, and I'll soon show you my website. And with this, I want people to be able to donate not only money, but also have the opportunity to donate equipment as well. And because I understand that the overall opportunity for a child to play sport, will create a positive impact more than a negative impact, right? So I don't think there's anyone who's ever had a terrible experience in athletics that they can look back on and say, I'd never do that again. It hasn't done any good for me. So that's the overall idea for it. And as well as, instead of just jumping right into moving internationally, I know that I said that in Morocco, I would love to give back there, but my first primary focus is within the GTA, because before we can move internationally, I think what we need to realize is that it is happening just at our front door with people in our neighborhood, and I think that should be the main focus before going further. So now I'm going to take you through my website. And so here's the website. The name Watch Me Play, the global action plan is called Athletic Ambition, but the name Watch Me Play will be further introduced as the organization. The reason why I decided to do Watch Me Play was because it's kind of saying, watch me play, watch me succeed, watch me become something, and it's kind of inviting people to watch these kids be given that opportunity. So on this website, there's an About Us. So it kind of just discusses where we're going to start, so in the GTA in 2015, and then further, as we get more funds, like I said, we would eventually move internationally. And then here are the projects. So the Greater Toronto area. And then my second project would be to go back to Morocco, since I have a personal connection there. And I think that since I've met the kids there and I've learned a bit of Arabic, I can have that opportunity to communicate with them. And then my third project would be northern Spain, and then South Africa, and then we'd move on to Brazil. And then people would also be given the opportunity to suggest a project if they've ever been to a place where they think that there's also a great need for something like Watch Me Play. And then there's also a Get Involved page where since we're trying to get funds, we wouldn't be hiring people to pay them. So obviously we'd need volunteers, and so we have a volunteer application that they could go through. And then there's also students who, for service hours, could also do this, or just to put on their resume. And then there's also organizations that could also help. And actually, when I was researching, I realized that the only major fund or organization I found was Right to Play, and it kind of made me realize that there really isn't that big of a focus on something like this, and I think it's a crucial part to a child or a student's life. So I found that kind of astonishing that there was only one major one I could find. So then I created a t-shirt. So I designed it as there's a basketball on top and then a soccer ball at the bottom. And so for every $25 of a donation, that would lead to you would get a free t-shirt. And then another thing would be that you'd also get a tax receipt of 90% of all the money donated, and that also will go towards other sports programs. And then I have a contact site, and then that kind of just shows where I'm located and where you can email me, and yeah. So and then this brings me to my timeline. So next year I will be starting at Wilfrid Laurier for communications, and my communications program talks about advertising and social media. So using that, the tools I'll be learning from there, I want to be able to kind of my first year to be focused on using social media and my website as a platform to kind of create the overall awareness. And I also want to, from this, get involved with Laurier's Right to Play and other organizations within Laurier, and also kind of introduce myself to people to kind of create the overall connections. All right, so then in my second year, to kind of hit the ground running, I want to be able to create a fundraiser. And I think through this fundraiser, what my primary goal would be to do is to do a 3-on-3 tournament like we do here at Appleby, because it's something fun and it can get people involved. And I want to be able to do this. I can do this through the intramural, what they have at Laurier, and kind of go from there, and then that can expand into getting more awareness through this fundraiser. So if I use like the basketball intramurals, and then it kind of let that message go throughout, they can create 3-on-3 teams and other people within. So, and then my other point is to contact local sports club for uniforms and equipment, because I think there's places like the Salvation Army, because I know personally my family will donate like jerseys and stuff, and then shin guards or whatever we don't need anymore. And I see that there's a connection there that we could use some of this equipment to help kind of start our basket of equipment that we can then pass on to the kids. All right, so in my year 3, I plan on going to on an exchange somewhere in the world, and through this will kind of be, this year I see kind of as a year that I would just try to create connections and kind of introduce myself to my host family, and then through this kind of see where the issues are and kind of get their input on it, where they think from a different perspective where they are in the world, what I can do to bring back to Canada and through the GTA. And then I also want to be able to kind of, this will be the coming up of the donation fund. So this website will be on the ground running for credit card, PayPal, all that, for people to finally begin their donations. All right, so in my 4th year, after I would have graduated, I want to be able to travel to Africa or back to Morocco, or with Projects Abroad, because that was the group or organization that I went with before, and I enjoyed my time completely. So I want to be able to, and I have a relation with them, I want to be able to go back there, and this is kind of where I'll create another personal connection with the kids. So this would be kind of a more personal thing, so I would be able to play sports and have that experience all over again that I enjoyed so much from going to Morocco. And this would also kind of make me find the places specifically that I would be able to focus on in my overall, when we move forward with the plan after we focused on the GTA. And then in my year 5, this is when I would eventually, after going through Laurier, I would have created the connections with a bunch of people, so a core group of people that have the same interest as me. And this is when we would officially start the organization and kind of hit the ground running with it within the GTA. And then I also see, because again, social media is still within a rise and it'll still get bigger and bigger, so we'd also use that as a platform. And then obviously I would like to return to Appleby and see if I could help out any other students that have the same objective as I do into changing something in the world. And that is the end of my global action plan. Are there any questions or anything?
Hayley, can you speak a bit more about how you're identifying the kids that actually need the equipment or the funding? Mm-hmm. Is it something that you're doing personally or through partnership with a local club?
What I would do is that I'd go through what the GTA, and then I'd go through the different, let's say, basketball organizations. Like in Oakville, what we have is the Oakville Basketball Club, and that's the main organization within Oakville. So I'd go to, there'd be a Toronto one, and I'd go and I'd talk to the person there and see if there's any issues with financial aid or kind of through that sense. Like, so I'd have to go through organizations, and that's right now the plan, is what I would do.
What do you see as the biggest challenges? So you've got an excellent plan. And
I think it's just, overall, I think getting the awareness and people that can kind of connect to it as well. I think a lot of people, you know, they see Right to Play and they see that and they think, oh, okay, yeah, I'll donate money. But the thing is, what we want is continuous funds. We want people to be able to be devoted to this program, and I think it'll just be more getting people that are dedicated overall, and not just kind of donating that one time and then never thinking about it again.
I have a quick question to clarify the timeline. So first off, it was an excellent proposal, and I really like the way that you start local and then move international, and you also did a really great job of explaining why the needs existed, so congratulations on that. You got 5 years, and then at the end you made a comment that that's when you'd actually start having kids engaged in your program. Did I misunderstand that, or will it be 5 years before?
Well, it would be officially 5 years where kids would start to be given the donations and be given that, because what I don't want to start the donations if there's only about $1,000 in it. I don't want to start it until I have a solid amount of money or foundation, and then kind of further bring it in, because it'll take some time, right, to get the equipment and the money. So I want to be able to have a solid amount of equipment and money, then to pass it off down to people who've applied for financial aid or something like that.
So when you mentioned, so on the website it had like 2015 project, 2016 project, and they were all in different areas. Is it sort of like that first one continues going along, but each year you're adding another project?
Yeah, that's like the main focus. Like, we go through, those are kind of the locations that I want people to kind of see that with time that this program will grow, and it's not just a one and done GTA thing, but more so that we're going to look for the future, sort of.
I have a few questions. You mentioned Right to Play. How would this association be different than Right to Play, or are they very similar?
I think they're very similar, but this is a fresh, new organization that I think it looks more, as the title of it, Watch Me Play, kind of gives that whole vibe of watching me succeed, whereas the other one is just focused on, yeah, you can play sports or whatnot, but this is kind of giving the kids the opportunity to be the best they can be at what they do.
How did you choose your other cities or other countries after Canada?
Well, I decided, obviously, Morocco because I've been there, and then places like the south of Spain because I did research, and I know that Spain's a very populated area that like for soccer, it's a big thing, and people are just playing on the streets and stuff, whereas I think if you can develop a program, like a real program down there, that they could be given the funds to actually create create teams and actually have it organized.
One of your initial slides, you had a series of stats by Carter that the one that struck me was 1/3 of kids.
Yeah.
Is that a Canadian statistic or international? Where does that number come from?
It's Canadian. It's Canadian. So even in a developed country, it's still a huge issue. So.
When we talk about donations for the different sports, do you think you'll collect donations for various sports, or are you focusing on certain sports?
I think I'm just going to focus on basketball and soccer, and then potentially maybe move forward. But I just think what I noticed when I went to Morocco was that the main sports were soccer and basketball, just because they're kind of easier to pick up on, whereas if you were to go to hockey, you have to get skates, you got to get the pads, and it's just the equipment cost is more. And then maybe another idea would be doing volleyball, because it's not as equipment needed. So.
Hayley, you have so much great experience with sports and being, both a teammate and a leader. Either formally or informally, do you envision or think that there might be a space for you to be coaching or mentoring this age group any time in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I would honestly like to have a personal connection with the kids, and I think that I would love to be a coach and kind of share my experiences with them and help them grow as people.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Any other questions? My only other comment would be that just as it's all, each year it will make more sense, but I think one thing to consider is doing something small really well before stretching too much. So I really like that you're ambitious in terms of the start local and move around. But as you all the pieces start to fit together, consider sort of the benefits of sticking with one thing until you've perfected it before trying to duplicate it.
Right. Okay. Awesome.
Can I add one? Sure. I think I was at a global leadership panel last year, and Ms. Kehoe or Mr. McGinnis can help you figure this out. There was a student that just similar type of idea. So maybe if they can
Connect
come up
with
that
them.
name, connect with them and see how they're doing and what pitfalls they might have fallen into.
Yeah.
It'll just help you learn.
I know that there's like a lot of people that have focused on sports and stuff, and the thing is, we can focus on that, but you can't, like, if you don't take action, then it's just not going to happen.
Yeah,
So I think, and if you connect with the same people that have the same idea, then it can work out
totally.
perfectly.
And his was related to equipment.
Yeah.
Like, I remember distinctly him talking about jerseys and basketballs and whatever. I cannot for the life of me remember who the student is, but they will be able to let you know.
Okay. Awesome.
Are there any other questions from audience members?
I'll continue on from what Messina was saying. There's actually students in your own class this time who don't have the same global action plan as you, but there are things related. So Mari, for instance, presented, and his is about after-school programs, but around sports in particular. And there's definitely an opportunity for you guys to see if there's some kind of synergy between your programs. And there are a couple other students in the class too who it'd be worthwhile.
So I can find it within like my community.
Some ability to help each other.
Right. Okay.
And then another piece you mentioned about getting equipment from existing clubs.
Right.
One thing that pops to my mind when I want to get equipment for the kids is going to Play It Again Sports. Obviously, that's a place where you buy, but it's previously owned by someone else. Those places, Play It Again Sports in particular, they're spread around in a number of places. But I think there's an opportunity for you to approach them about when they don't take all the equipment, but people come to them to sell. But maybe there's an opportunity where if it's not going to be bought by Play It Again Sports to be
passed on,
that it could be donated, for instance, to your program.
Right.
And that could potentially quite quickly, without a lot of you constantly trying to keep in contact with people, could potentially build up a good stock of support.
Any other comments?
Just a quickly one, you mentioned about how targeting kids, and one suggestion also is to go through organizations like YMCA or Boys and Girls Clubs or various organizations, because they're fantastic for how,
because they already have a good like foundation already with a bunch of people going there.
That's right.
So
they can say, these kids or this kid would be ideal candidate for the program.
Right. Awesome. Thank you.
And just thinking in terms of the uniforms and jerseys and things like that. I mean, I know for Aspen we've ended up with a pile of, what are we going to do with it? And if you approach some of the schools in the area too, I'm sure if you did
old.
some of the local schools, I'm sure there's lots of opportunity there to pick up some of the equipment.
It's like the book drive, right?
Well, people don't want to throw them out, right? They want to put them to use, but they don't know where to take them.
We better check how much room there's left in the Suchanek basement.
Jeez.
Storage bins.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.